Hey, Moguls, it's Dr. T here, and I'm coming to you with an upgrade that's going to help you become more of a morning person so you can become more of that top mogul, creating so much success, health, wealth, happiness, freedom, and being your most powerful and positively influential self. So, the focus of becoming a morning person is a pretty significant transformation. And what I'm going to do is walk you through how you can do that so you will know what to implement and how to end up being someone who can absolutely pop out of bed, take on the world, tackle all of the things that you're here to do, and be that powerful creator that's going to allow you to really live your ultimate reality and in that way be a transformational role model for other people. So, first and foremost, let me just say that if you are not a morning person, that I want to have you take the first step and just stop beating yourself up about it. I completely relate to this. I understand it on every level because I myself in my life have been a nighttime person. And I want to just let you in on a little secret and reason why that typically is. Typically, people are night people or are not morning people. Let's just say some people are morning people that really can get up very early, take on the day, and just be ruling the day. And so, even though if you're not a morning person, you may also not be a night person, I don't want to get that confused. I just want to say if you're not a morning person, and or if you feel like you are more of a evening person or you start to get more energy later in the day, first and foremost, I want to have you forgive yourself for any negative thoughts you've had about this and any struggle or blame that you've put on yourself. I want to have you forgive yourself because the reason for this typically is that the people who are the morning people, 90% of the time, this is the case because they were born early in the morning. They were born either really early in the morning, could be they were born 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. They could be a morning person if they're still born, 8 o'clock or so. Um, but ultimately, we all have a 24-hour clock from the time we were born. That's our 24-hour clock that starts a new day. Like, no matter what day starts on, our day of how much we've been in this world typically starts at the time we were born. So, first and foremost, forgive yourself because only a certain percentage of the population were born early in the morning. And those people, their entire life, have just had a head start on that. They're just born at the time that people were saying, like, hey, we should just get up and kick ass every day when the sun comes up. So, if you were not born in the morning, your 24-hour clock exists somewhere else in the day. And if you're like me and you were born in the evening, I was born at 5:53 p.m. Your day might like literally start when the evening happens. And so this is not a failure or a fault of yours. It's an understanding that this is all part of how you were designed and how you came into the world in your whole life. Even if you weren't noticing it, you've been on your own 24-hour clock. And this is why there are a lot of night people who just thrive at night and get all kinds of stuff done. They kick ass, take names, and they love it at nighttime. And yet, and let's get clear, neither is right or wrong. It's just about what you're wanting. And this video is for people that want to become morning people. And I'm going to be really upfront. This has been one of the largest foundational transformations for me in my life that I am continually transforming through. So I understand this one because I was born as a night person. I love nighttime. I get all my energy at night. And yet, because of the way I want to interact with the world, and the fact that so many of the morning people are being able to be more of those top level leaders and moguls and those who are moving and shaking. And I want to be able to align with the fact that so much of the life, so much human life is aligning so much, again, like even with the fact that the sun comes up at a certain time, and there's all of our history and legacy of that being an alarm clock as well. So it's about forgiveness, first and foremost, understanding it's not a failure, understanding there's nothing wrong with you. And we're going to step up and just forgive that and take that in. And if you've been beating yourself up about this the way that I had in my life, even with all my transformational training, I have kicked my ass on it and shamed myself and blamed myself. And it's just a profound thing to transform. And yet we can do it. So know, number 2, that you are taking on a significant transformation and it's doable. But let's not turn it into some small thing, because that's why all of your life that you've been wanting to be more of a morning person and struggling or doing it and then falling back, it's because your body is on its own clock. And let me just say, I can also put a disclaimer here that says if our society was less conformist, everybody would be allowed to be on their own clock and still be very effective and productive. However, knowing that so many of you that are in this community and subscribe to this transformational community and these upgrades, you want to align with so many people that are just moving and shaking earlier in the day. So it makes sense, and I am right with you, to take on that transformational upgrade. And yet, and it makes sense, let me just complete this to say it's because you then get to align more with the other moguls in the world who are running and gunning early in the morning, and by 11 o'clock in the day, they've, completed a lot on their mission. Let me just say, it's no small thing. So if you've struggled with this for a short time or a long time, it's because you're literally reprogramming something that is so massive, and yet it can be done. And yet, the other part of it is, next piece of it, which I think is number 3, is to understand this is a reprogramming. And whenever we reprogram ourselves, part of ourselves feels really good because we're heading in a direction we want to head. And we keep getting guided to do that. I myself have been guided to do that because as much as I love nighttime and as much as my whole life, it is almost impossible sometimes to get myself to go to bed at the time that I need to in order to be the morning person. And I just really enjoy the late evening. I really love it so much because it's like this time where there's like nothing expected of you and nobody interacting, and you just get this juicy, amazing time with yourself. I want to be aligned much more with my comrades and colleagues earlier in the day and really feeling ahead of the game. So if that's what you're wanting, to feel like that, to be part of that, more of that mogul community of people who just get up and at it during the day, this makes sense. But know that you're moving through a reprogramming, and the body and the being that we are is designed to stay in homeostasis. So we're talking about flip-flopping the programming. So think of it not just as I'm getting up early, think of it as I'm reprogramming myself and my reality. Now, the other reason that it can be challenging, and just to know what you're taking on before we go into more of how you're going to do it, is to understand that depending on what your human design is, you may be someone geared for more work or more rest. Now, if you don't know your human design, you can go to my website, theempirecompany.com, And then click on the link for human design, and you can input your details and you'll get your human design chart that'll tell you what you are, either a manifester, generator, manifesting generator, reflector, or projector, which is what I am. Depending on what you are, if you are a generator, you exist with a motor that runs your energy system, and no other uh, part of our population has the motor. So 77% of our population is generators or manifesting generators. They have a motor, and if you're one of those, you have a motor, and you constantly have energy to access when you need it. The rest of society, of humanity, the projectors, reflectors, and manifestors, do not have a motor. Their role is to collaborate with the generators who have the motor, and the generator's role is to collaborate with these other types of people that exist in order to create a whole beneficial collaboration. So if you are a generator, you will find it much easier to get up in the morning because the motor is always running even when you're sleeping, and you have access always to energy and to power yourself. And the rest of us, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors, we live in a generator world. That world, we are all floating around in it. We pick up on the generator energy. We do our part to collaborate with the generator, but we don't make energy. And we are the types that gain energy by being connected to generators or manifesting generators. With that said, depending on what you are, typically a generator type will have an easier time popping out of bed and accessing energy. And if you are any of the other types, you're having it just takes a little bit more for us other types to motivate when we don't have access to constant energy, and the only way we get it is by being connected with other people. So, keeping that in mind, let's move into how you're going to make this upgrade. First and foremost, you're going to understand that you're going to go through a transformational experience where you are going to work through bit by bit, day by day, this adjustment without expecting yourself to somehow just it's just so super easy. And I'm not one to say things are hard and make that reality come true, but knowing that when you are shifting your being from a certain homeostasis into a new reality, and it will then gain homeostasis and get used to that. We're not just changing a self, we're changing an entire reality that's been running a certain way, and it has all this momentum. And when you start to shift and redirect and you start to steer in a different direction or flip flop things, for example, being a night person to a day person, morning person, you're literally not just changing you, you're changing a whole reality that's running. And that is significant. So you're going to do it increment by increment, day by day by day, moving through and accepting and allowing the discomfort of the shift. And we've all, if you tried to be a morning person and you're still trying, you know that it can be really uncomfortable. And some people who have made that shift, who were not born morning people and then became them, know also some of the top people, like one of the people I really enjoy is Tom Bilyeu, who runs Impact Theory, and he was not a morning person and turned himself into one. And I believe he talks about how like he still does not want to get up in the morning when the alert goes off, but he does it because he's programmed and it just gets him up. So as you move through each stage, each day, as you feel the resistance, as you feel you're like, I gotta get up, and you can't, like, as you feel discombobulated, as you feel like, oh my God, no, I just want to stay here in this comfortable bed, like, know that it is okay for it to be uncomfortable, that it's not a sign that something's wrong. You're not here to avoid that discomfort. You're here to be right smack dab in the middle of it so that the rest of your body and reality can adjust to it. Because the more you do it, it will adjust. But the initial response is it's like it'll resist, it'll resist, it'll resist. You'll feel uncomfortable. You'll have to move through it. You'll be saying a lot of, like, this sucks, whatever. And as you do it anyway, and you begin to align with being a morning person and what that means, and allows you to be more of a mogul in reality, a powerful, healthy, wealthy, positively influential contributor, influencer, creator, entrepreneur, leader, you're going to keep that focus. And eventually, like all things, the more with each day where you move through that discomfort, even if it feels like you're moving a ton of bricks, literally, to get yourself to do it, to move yourself through it. The big upgrade I can also give you is be willing to be in the discomfort and know that most humans are literally prone to go avoid pain. That's why they can't transform. It's very challenging for all humans because we are in a society where everybody's just avoiding everything and only a small percentage of the people are facing it head on. So don't be afraid of the discomfort. In place of that, be led by the discomfort. Be like, okay, the discomfort means I'm in the process of transformation. My being is feeling a bit discombobulated. And the way it's going to know that I mean business and I mean to be a mogul, a morning mogul, is because I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it. And when I think I want to scream, I hate it, I don't want to get, all I want to do is avoid it, I'm going to do it again. So that everything, this is like changing everything, your circadian rhythms. It's a lot of change to make this shift. And it's an identity shift. And it's got all of that with it. So more about that in a minute. Be willing to move through the discomfort, knowing that as you decide, I am the master. I am not the slave to reality. I am not the slave to my previous identity. I'm not the slave to my previous wake up time. I'm not the slave in the situation. I am the master. I tell my body, this is for you all, I tell my body what it's doing next. And when it starts to give me resistance, if you experience resistance, most humans are pretty weak and they'll just like fold on when the resistance comes. When what's needed is to stay and stay and stay all the way through the discomfort, adding more intention, like, say you're up, you're awake, but you're groggy. You're just like, it's like, you could be like, I'm a morning mogul. I tackle the world and I hit all my goals. Whatever helps you stay in those intentions to become that morning mogul who tackles the world, who achieves their priorities, who develops mastery. I'm a masterful mogul who wakes up every day with ease and flow that allows me to create a massive amount of dough. So be willing to move through the discomfort, and whatever chatter, mind chatter, it's the next piece of it, mind chatter, this and that, whatever is telling you anything that is counter to what you're wanting, just know that that is the former reality, the former self, the former programming. And all you got to do, as they say in a lot of transformational circles, And particularly when it comes to things like people recovering from addiction and things like that, they're like, you're just doing today. You've got one day. So each morning, as your alert goes up, because I don't like to call it an alarm, I think that's alarming. So your alert goes off. It's just this day. You're not like, oh my God, the rest of my life. I mean, I know this routine. The rest of my life, I have to do this, and I like to sleep, and da 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 da. And yet, for those of you that really like the idea of just becoming such a morning mogul and taking on the world early and being ahead of the game, you're doing one day. One day, and we just keep stringing them together. But when you really feel the temptation to do something else, like go back to bed or scrap it, scrap this upgrade, I just got to do one day. And the more that you make these upgrades happen, this one day at a time, as they say, and you just keep letting your body know, this is the reality that we are doing. This is the level to which we are moguling, becoming our most powerful, influential self. And this is where you're becoming the master of reality instead of feeling like the slave to it. And like it's just, reality is just running you. Typically, what happens is when we do anywhere from 21 to 30 days of a new behavior, of a new pattern, a new program, a new upgrade, our nervous system starts to relax a little bit more. And it's okay if up and until that point, the nervous system is just like, which way are we going? Are we on the old path, a new path? Like its job is to alert you if something is getting out of homeostasis. It doesn't know. It's morning good, morning bad. It just knows this is what we've been doing. And now that you're changing it, it will alert you. It'll say, it'll potentially give you some warning signals. Like this isn't, just letting you know things feel different. As long as you're mastering, as long as you're giving yourself compassion, as long as you're giving yourself the motivation to know this is the direction I'm heading, your nervous system's job is eventually to adapt and then normalize and put new programming into homeostasis and what we would call going into the unconscious. So it does not have to think about that once you've done a particular level of transformation, and it gets it just to be automated. And then you get to points down the road where you ultimately don't have to think about it. So at a minimum, let's just say we're shooting for 30 days, one day at a time, to where your nervous system starts to feel like, oh, this isn't dangerous, this is okay. It starts to settle in. And yet there's another piece of this transformation, which is that's where you've sort of made it through a threshold that says, okay, we'll run with this. However, as someone that has done countless transformations, what we do in my coaching company is we bring people through a year of immersion of their different transformational priorities. I'll turn this off. It is on airplane mode. I don't know what's going on. Because it's not just about getting into that new comfort zone. It's about making it so automated that it becomes one of these things that just runs itself and we literally never have to think about it again because it's just built in. And if you want to get to that level, the more you go one day at a time, each month throughout this year, over and over and over, you're getting it to just being just like when we learn to drive. And when we learn to drive, we have to pay attention to everything. It's a conscious learning process. Then eventually we get to the point where the conscious learning goes into unconscious capacity. And now we drive our car places and we don't even know who drove the car because you were not having to think about it. It literally drove itself while you could do 5,000 other things while driving. That's a really important example for transformation. So my invitation to you, if you want to get it fully cemented in beyond the initial transformative 21 to 30 days, is, and you're doing it one day at a time, very important, is to know that when you do an immersion into a transformation like that, and you just go, my goal is to get it to a level where I literally never have to think about it again the rest of my life. That is where you want to go, like a full calendar year. So all your being knows is like every day of a calendar year, this is what we do. And it'll just know this is the time. It'll literally start to take it on. It'll run with it, and it will now run that program for you, which is the best thing, because anything we have to think about takes up bandwidth. So the more we program how we want to be, and we do the effort to get it to where it's so cemented we never have to think about it again, we've just taken off a bunch of bandwidth for effort that takes and sucks up energy all the time. And when you program something so well, it literally will take no energy to do it, and all that energy will be freed up, which is quite phenomenal. Because each and every time we have to make decisions and we have to get our being to do something because we haven't programmed it well enough, it's a lot of energy, and it keeps us from having the energy for the other things. So this is a foundational upgrade. If you want to make it, you're going to go through these different steps and know that you can get to the point where you can get it and set it for the rest of your life. Whatever time you're going to wake up, I also highly recommend that after you've set that alert, and when that alert goes off, it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you are out. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you are up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you get onto your feet and just begin to shift into the new program, the new pattern. Get right on your feet. You can be groggy, you can be all these things, but you are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on your feet. Doesn't have to be graceful, doesn't have to be easy. You get on your feet, you start the process going of being more of that morning person. Anywhere where you go into contemplation or deciding, like you're just putting yourself through a torture chamber, which I'll probably make a video on that at some point because that's its own thing. But when you get this automated, you now put yourself in the category of how the top influential moguls of the world do it, the leaders who are leading the transformation of our world, and you're putting yourself in alignment with that and on point with that. And when you think about it as a program running that you are installing, it gets easier and easier. So we also want to have the identity, which is, I think, the last part of what we need to go over today. The Mogul identity, which is powerful, influential person, is also a massive support in helping you pop up onto your feet each day, because the Mogul identity is someone that is taking on the world, influencing, making contributions. And being a morning mogul means you can join the population of people that are the movers and shakers making things happen. And if you are on their wavelength each day, the likelihood of your being friends with them, connecting with them, collaborating with them, aligning with them, being on their level, operating at the level they do, all the things that can put each of us more in alignment with a population of high performing people that are masterful, it literally puts you into that world. So this is my absolute invitation for you. You're going to get on your feet. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're popping up. Your identity is a morning mogul. And literally, when you do this, you've already got a win on the scoreboard. And everything that comes after that, once you've gotten onto your feet, is navigating through whatever it takes to help get your brain and your being awakened at an earlier point where it's probably been used to something else. So be patient with it, be tolerant, be open, and let it come into a level of going, okay, this is what you want me to do. Let me start to awaken earlier. Let me start to awaken the system. Let me start to get it going. And you allowing that to happen without freaking out that you're feeling a little uncomfortable. So, the more your system knows what you are intending for it to do, the more it can align and collaborate with you. So you're letting it know your intentions, where I'm a morning mogul, I tackle the world, I meet my goals, I make my contribution, and I experience all the health, happiness, and wealth possible that I desire, whatever that might be for you. You're letting it know those intentions so that it can literally align with you and say, oh, this is the reality you're wanting me to do. Okay, moguls, this is a foray into how you can become more of a morning person and, in fact, a morning mogul, and align with the morning moguls of the world who are moving and shaking and making things happen and creating an amazing revolution in humanity. And you can join in and being in that community just by being someone that takes on this mogul upgrade to yourself and your reality and trusts the process of transformation. All right, everyone, if this has been helpful and supportive, please subscribe and like. It helps me. And in this world, being a mogul means that not only do we receive help, but we give it to those, especially those that are giving it to us. So please like and subscribe. And if you feel that there's someone that would benefit from this, share this upgrade with them so they don't have to suffer in their struggle with this stuff. They can also get into top mogul conditioning and operate at the level that the world is really requiring of us now. All right, you moguls, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.